Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Diagnose Brave podcast. I'm your host, Bethany, and as an overall disclaimer that I do in my videos, I just want to let everyone know I'm not trying to treat, diagnose, prescribe, do any of those things for my audience. I am not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one on TV, okay? I'm just sharing my experiences specifically in the medical world. I've been dealing with a rare autoimmune disease for about 16 years, and I've been dealing with medical issues for about 3 decades. And it's a journey. There's a lot to navigate. And so when I'm within my support groups that I participate in over the years, the biggest thing I saw was when someone shared their experiences, people benefited from it. I personally benefited from it, and I wanted to pass that along. So I've been involved with the vasculitis support group for almost 15 years now, and I'm in like support groups within other medical things as well. And at this point in the stage and at this point in my journey, I realized that I need to share this because I don't consider it a big deal, but everybody keeps telling me it's a big deal. And a lot of times, I don't think people can really see past certain things. And so I am used to just grinning and bearing it. And, they tell me this is going on, and okay, I've just got to go and address it. And if sharing that helps other people, that's fantastic. And that would be awesome. And so that's what this platform is all about. So the last 4 weeks, I've been doing videos regarding my mom's recent breast cancer diagnosis and the journey that's been, specifically because I've been wanting to document things as they happen. Because for those who are as old as I am, there was a show called Saved by the Bell, and a character, Zach, would either snap his fingers or do something, and the world around him would freeze, and he'd be able to share something with the audience watching. And when you're diagnosed or going through medical considerations or are helping someone who is on their own medical journey, the world doesn't stop. You can take a leave of absence, and there's some things that can stop. But generally speaking, unfortunately, the world does not stop. So my original intention with this was to do some pre-op videos, some even in the hospital videos, some post-op, and long story short, we're here post-op, and we're in a new background display area, as you can see from my other videos, because I'm currently the caretaker of my mom, and since she is still in recovery from her mastectomy, I didn't want to be too far in case she needed it. So we're going to see how this goes. Just like everything else in life, you have no control over what could happen. So I don't know how this is going to sound, but I just had to get an episode out there. So my mom was diagnosed with DCIS, which stands for ductal carcinoma in situ, which is a really fancy way of saying that she had breast cancer in her milk duct. And the amazing thing I learned was that if it is contained in the milk duct itself, it's considered non-invasive because it hasn't broken through and potentially spread. And they term it stage 0, which I didn't even know was a stage when dealing with cancer. But we did the test, we got the second and third opinions, and we got to the point where her and her doctor decided that the mastectomy would be the best option. And he explained that the mastectomy, they would do a biopsy of the lymph node just to triple check that it wasn't spreading or didn't spread somewhere. And pretty much for the pre-op stuff, like, it was just preparation. So, she knew she was going to be down for about 4 to 6 weeks on average is what they told us. So all of the errands, anybody that, she wanted to kind of like spend time with kind of deal, we were trying to cram into. And so that's where the schedule just got way off track. But it's something I myself deal with every time I have a surgery is I'm pretty active and I do a lot of things. And the thought of just resting and not being able to lift anything or not being able to bend or whatever those restrictions end up being, it gets me like kind of anxious as far as like, oh my gosh, I have to do so many things and squeeze in so many things, which you definitely don't need added pressure when you're prepping for a surgery. But that's the way my mind works. I know mind over matter. It's something I'm working on. We're all a work in progress. So I digress. That's how we're at the point where I'm not able to kind of do an episode for every single week. But I think you guys will have a little grace on me with everything going on. And I'm just going to put it out there. So the prep for it was pretty much just using an antibacterial wash. And when we got there, they wanted to administer the radio tracer because that was an element that would help them detect the specific sentinel lymph node that they needed to do the initial biopsy in. And once that kicked in, then they brought her back for surgery. I was really impressed. I mean, it was like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And the doctor called, letting me know that, it was a success. They got everything. They did end up taking the sentinel lymph node for biopsies just to send to pathology and triple check that, it didn't spread anywhere. And it was really reassuring to know that it was kind of a quick surgery. That kind of gave me an idea that the recovery had a good time of being on the shorter end of the time frame that they gave us. So she got through the recovery room okay, and then they were just waiting on a room to open up because she was going to stay the night. And I was really glad when we found out that that's what would entail with this kind of surgery, because the peace of mind you get after you go through any type of surgery, to be able to just press that nurse button and know that you can access medical help is wow. I mean, it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, I know they charge you an arm and a leg to stay in the hospital, but from somebody who has actually had to page a doctor at 2:30 in the morning because my wrist was looking a certain way and I wasn't sure. And the person that was taking care of me was getting really anxious about the way that my wrist was looking. And I felt so bad, but that's what happens. And alongside just the weird feelings and sensations you're going to have after surgery is the pain. Like, they don't know what kind of medication to send you home with if they're not sure how you're going to feel after surgery. Everybody is different. Um, I'm lucky enough to where we know what my post-op medicine regime looks like. So I get that called in ahead of time. So that way there's nobody having to run to the drugstore and make sure that they actually have it in stock and that added stress. So that's something, if you're experienced with multiple surgeries, it's not a bad idea to just ask your doctor, in the pre-op part, hey, can you just call them into my pharmacy? And then you have it at home and then you just have to worry about getting home, right? So we got my mom home, and in the hospital it was great. They got her walking right away, wanted to get that circulation flowing and the chance of blood clots to decrease. And she had to get used to using her other arm because we pretty much just put her left arm in a sling so she wouldn't, because I think the tendency is to still kind of grab things the way you do. But they wanted to make sure that she could kind of get herself in and out of bed and, use the restroom and those things. And, I got to tell you, I was there during the food. They brought lunch in, and it's amazing nowadays. Like, I feel so old saying that, but like back in the day and you're in the hospital, like, I mean, the best part of your meal would just be the Jello, because you didn't know exactly what you were eating, what kind of meat it could be, or what kind of vegetables or fruit or whatever, the warm milk. I mean, those are wild days. But anyway, this was like, a grilled salmon with like rice and, her choice of ice cream. And then they had different juices, and it was amazing. And it's awesome to see more and more hospitals are getting better menus to just help the patients out. So we brought her home. Get off on tangents. We brought her home, and it was pretty much just rest and recovery mode. She wasn't able to lift anything, wasn't really able to bend, and not able to use that arm. And then it was just kind of getting used to being able to like resume shower activities. She had drains. Luckily, with one of my prior surgeries, I had to deal with drains. So I'm kind of an aficionado when it comes to knowing how to strip the drain and empty the tubes and measure the tubes and all that fun stuff. But she did really well, and she's doing really well. And I'm so glad. And overall, I think that the plan is that she will be getting checkups and mammograms every 3 months for about 2 years. And then the doctor said every 6 months for 5 years. So they track it really well. They keep on top of it, which is always really good. And her spirits are getting better because she knows that, it's just going to be a couple of weeks, and then she can get back to doing all the activities that she was doing. So I appreciate you checking out this video. I look forward to sharing some more medical stories and maybe even fun facts with you in the future. And if you yourself have anything you want to share or comment, leave it below. I do check that out, and have a great rest of your day.